at some point we are going to have to do a whole show about how good this show sounds.
Everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do this show live every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/EchoplexMedia. You can find everything about us at echoplexmedia.com. I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr. Oh, I have no sound from you. I don't see anything on the meter from Video Ninja.
Strange. Are you getting me now?
There we go. Everybody, in case you were, when I say this show is recorded live, I mean this show is recorded live. What's up, Councilman?
Let's do it live. This is the Councilman with you as always from the Nether Sphere. I was actually in the fourth dimension. That's why you couldn't hear me. So I've come back to this plebeian land to tell you all that I've learned and to reap the benefits of the future knowledge that I have. Maybe not in the stock market, but in other ways. I know what's going to happen in OpenAI. I do, really. So I'll tell you about it later. Anyway, good to see you, Producer Dave.
You too. Well, we have a docket. Thank you for doing the docket this week. I didn't have time. I've been still chasing down, and fucking on some other Xenu shit. Anyway,
have you caught anything?
No,
other than COVID.
No, I haven't even caught COVID. Just
good on you.
Just caught a bunch of people accusing me of working for the cult of Scientology.
You don't?
No, I clearly do. I mean, volunteer, sure, but work, no.
Oh, I thought that's how we met. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe that was some other Dave.
Yeah, it might have been another Dave. David Miscavige, actually. There
you go, right? Many Daves out there. Anyway, shall we get to the docket?
Yeah, what do we got for leading off?
Well, leading off, it's I don't know if it'll be the final chapter, but it's one of the final chapters in the story we've been covering for since it happened, basically over a year ago. The gentleman who attacked Nancy Pelosi's husband in her home was convicted. So we're going to see more about the final verdict here from KTVU.
Francisco, though, totally separate from what we've been reporting on all morning. That breaking news says that David DePape has been found guilty of assault and attempted kidnapping charges for an attack on the husband of then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi last year. The jury delivered this verdict just minutes ago after deliberating for about 8 hours in total. DePape is facing as many as 50 years in prison. During the trial, he admitted to breaking into the Pelosi's Pacific Heights home last October, said he intended to hold the then Speaker hostage. He also admitted to hitting Paul Pelosi with a hammer. Much of the incident you see here was captured on police body camera video. A lot of graphic testimony. DePape himself took the stand for his own defense. We saw Paul Pelosi take the stand as well. Our Christian captain's been in the courtroom all morning. He will have a live report for us coming up at noon.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to have much more on all of these breaking stories coming up here in about.
They need somebody new over there cutting their clips, clearly.
Absolutely, at least before they post them to YouTube. So again, one of the final chapters in a long saga, and very sad saga, but thought it would be good for leading up just to get us going here. Any thoughts, final thoughts on David DePape and this case, Producer Dave?
I'm actually kind of surprised there wasn't an attempted murder charge, because you swing a hammer like that at somebody's head, you're trying to kill them.
That's a very, very good point. I wonder if there was some pretrial negotiation around what the charges were going to be. Possibly, who knows, to expedite the trial.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, you're going to have him take the stand. We'll remove this one."
Right.
You have nothing, right?
Right. And they were. I think the defense did try to do the insanity plea at some point, but or at least the not in the right mental state plea at some point. But I do not believe that was successful. I think they found that he was well within his cognitive abilities.
Yeah. It's, people don't think about it much, but like for the court to find you incompetent to stand trial is a lot different than just people thinking you crazy.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I don't know if I'd be competent to stand trial, to be honest with you.
Who knows? So we're going to move on here to winners and losers. This first story on winners and losers is really weird.
Yeah. Well, I figured you'd probably be covering the OpenAI saga on one of the myriad other shows on this network. So I figured try to find a local angle on it that we could really dig into, even though obviously it's a Silicon Valley story. Let's just run it, because I'm not even sure what's going to happen here, and it could be pretty interesting. So this is MC Hammer and his take on OpenAI and what's going on in the past week. If you don't know, you don't know.
Hammer time.
Aye.
Overnight, the Artificial Intelligence Research Organization brought back its chief executive officer. KTV's Amanda Quintana is here now with the leadership shuffle at OpenAI. Amanda.
And a lot of us have been watching this drama all unfold, and it was revealed on social media late last night. OpenAI, the company that made the ChatGPT software, they posted on X at 10 o'clock last night that Sam Altman would return as CEO. This comes after he was removed from the position on Friday with no real explanation why. OpenAI says it has now reached an agreement for Altman to return with a new initial board to replace the one that ousted him on Friday. They're still working out some other details, but a lot has happened since he was removed. Microsoft hired Altman days after he was released to lead a new advanced AI research team. And then nearly all of OpenAI's employees signed a letter calling for the resignation of the board and threatening to quit and go to Microsoft if Altman was not reinstated. Right after the announcement last night, Altman posted on X saying in part, "I love OpenAI and everything I've done over the past few days has been in service of keeping this team and its mission together. When I decided to join Microsoft on Sunday evening, it was clear this was the best path for me and the team. I'm looking forward to returning to OpenAI and building on our strong partnership with Microsoft." Just before midnight, OpenAI president and CEO, who quit in solidarity when Altman was fired, posted this photo of employees smiling together, saying, "We are so back." Other tech leaders also reacting to the news. Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff sent a congratulations to OpenAI, saying it's great to see the good guys win. Even rapper MC Hammer weighing in, saying seeing the loyalty and commitment of the employees who stood with Altman was a thing of beauty. Many others joking that all of this drama will become a movie, but still there are a lot of questions about what will happen and why Altman was even fired in the first place. Pam, Andre, back to you.
We'll see what happens.
I was hoping to hear more from MC Hammer himself, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that was a major clickbait kind of a headline. Barely mentioned, and I think it was just her reading an MC Hammer X post. Anyway, have you covered this on some of the other shows on the network?
I mean, a little bit, but we covered his Sam Altman's ouster on the How the Tech Are You?
How the Tech Are You? Yeah.
But then by the time that published, he was already back. So
right. I think a lot of folks were in that kind of situation. I actually heard a podcast from the New York Times the other day that it was an interview with Altman literally 2 days before all this shit went down, and he's completely oblivious to anything coming down the pipe. So very interesting to see the back and forth. It's very curious to me how you restructure when the board is there to empowered to make a lot of these decisions, right, and hire and fire the CEO. So who hires and fires the board, right? I mean, they police themselves, I guess, to some extent, but how are they going to reconstitute themselves? How does that work? Do they, are people just forced out? But it great to see this kind of solidarity behind a CEO, especially a tech pro. But I think it was something like over 700 of the 770 employees at this company all signed a letter to the board saying, "Fuck you, bring him back, or we're gone." And that pretty rare to see that kind of solidarity amongst any employee group. So good on them. They got it. They were part of the work that got it done and got it turned around.
Yeah, who fucking knows what happened? And I mean, who cares? I mean, it was kind of interesting to follow, but I mean, the people on this board had no choice because their company was just no longer going to exist if they didn't fire themselves and bring this guy back, right?
Right, and cash out and get their little severance package or whatever it is. Yeah, it's all just rich people getting richer and doing interesting things with technology that may or may not be benevolent or have some sort of benevolent application. More than likely will end up being corrupted and used for evil and nefarious purposes.
Yeah, so we're going to move on. We're coverage of the end of that APEC summit, and it seems that the small businesses around there are like, goodbye.
Yeah, peace out, because there were a lot of empty seats and a lot of food wasted, preparing for economic impact that apparently didn't happen. Surprise.
All the businesses and all the eyes on San Francisco, making a lot of money for the economy here in the Bay Area. But for some small businesses, it was a different story, and they are glad that the APEC summit is gone. We go to Leslie Gooden with that part of that story.
But Bonchon made the difficult decision to close last Wednesday. And last Wednesday was our last day of operation. And we're closing Thursday through Saturday. And we'll reopen for business on Sunday.
On Monday, we caught up with Manuel, the owner of Bonchon. And during APEC, it's located in the heart of the security zone.
Since the fence went up the prior Thursday, our sales were down about 40% since the perimeter fence went in. Once it was sealed, and after you left that Monday, our sales were down 40%, or 80%, I'm sorry. And so Monday was our worst day in 12 years.
Manuel says he and some of the restaurants in Metreon were hopeful and said they wanted to take the city's word that APEC was going to be profitable for small businesses.
Is a sign from the city to show us that we are not the sacrificial lambs for the hosting of APEC, that we weren't considered acceptable collateral damage to being hosts to these dignitaries and CEOs.
Now there are only 3 restaurants at the food court that are staying open. One of them is Bimmy Pokey, who says they have no choice.
We selling the seafood, and I order a lot of, food. So I don't want to waste that, I don't want to throw it away. So I can, I just try to keep opening to sell whatever, I can.
Sammy says this week was terrible for her. And now she and Manuel say they hope the city hears their pleas.
Grants, we can apply it, we need a help, like a real help, not just, reduce the tax or, license fee, it doesn't help, like a couple $100 doesn't help for us.
Get our numbers in order for what happened to us this week and go to the city and call for some action, right? There needs to be a damages related subsidy provided to the restaurants that had to go through this and small businesses that had to go through this to help us cover our rent, to help us cover our payroll.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time. These big events actually don't do the city's like we're putting in anything from we're putting into in a stadium to we're just going to have this big fucking event here. And then it doesn't help doesn't help the small businesses ever.
Yeah, and they keep the area and the space so controlled, right? In this case, they've chalked it up to security, but really it's just creating controlled spaces where, controlled meaning you control everything from what people are eating to what they're consuming in terms of media to what they're seeing, right? And that's what's created around conferences like APEC. Frankly, it's what's created around a lot of conventions. They want you to be stuck in this loop of constantly going back to the same Cinnabon over and over again. And unfortunately, these guys and other small vendors and small businesses and just businesses in general outside the comfort zone of the event space, they miss out. And a lot of times they're bringing in vendors and businesses from outside the city, right, or outside the local area, right, national and international vendors, right, who have tons of money and can afford to just to pop up a shop right in the middle of this convention for a couple of days. But it certainly has unintended consequences. I think known consequences. I'm sure that that economic development experts at the city or whatever are well aware of what they're doing, and they just choose to ignore these folks, and they choose to not, like he said, treat them as expendable, as collateral damage. But good on Bonchon for saying, let's go down to City Hall, let's get into public comment, let's get up in these people's faces. Hell
yeah. So as again, this show is live, my main camera seems to have frozen. So I'm gonna run this next story and let you do the commentary on it.
It's very related, actually. This is about some street vending in San Francisco. There's a little hiatus that's being placed on it. And of course, the SF officials who are instituting it decided they would wait until they're actually about to implement the ban before they actually met with the folks who it's going to impact. So here's more about their meeting.
The 90-day ban on street venting on San Francisco's Mission District has begun.
Quieren pagar su renta, quieren para vestirse.
On 24th Street's Bar Plaza, members of the recently formed Mission Street Vendors Association asked for 1 more month.
116 vendors who are permitted, who have been in this community, some as long as 35 years, some as long as 10, 15 years, have unfortunately been displaced.
Across the street, San Francisco police officers ready for enforcement.
We never see these kind of police officers, this amount of police officers in this neighborhood for the last 2 years. We barely see 1 or 2 police officers for half an hour, 45 minutes, and then they're gone.
Rodrigo Lopez has had a permit to sell out here for over a year. He views the ban as an unfair resolution to tackle those selling stolen items on the sidewalk.
We comply with the city. The city asked me to do my everything right, and we did it. And now the police give me the same punishment from other people, from other vendors. for illegal vendors.
Milagro Lopez had her tables ready. She said she has proof of purchase.
Es de procedencia legal, la
I have all my
mercancía.
receipts to be able to prove that I buy everything that I'm selling. In the crowd, Supervisor Hillary Ronan, who represents this district and spearheaded the plan. She was asked by vendors to speak.
The problem is there's another element that has taken over the streets of the Mission that are stealing and selling stolen goods. And yes, you are a victim of that. It is true. I'm not going to lie to you.
As the group continued to ask for an extension, one vendor handed Supervisor Ronan a paper rose as a sign of peace. Several in the crowd challenged her solutions, a storefront for 48 of them to sell indoors and an outdoor location with 9 spots. And a member of the city's Office of Economic and Workforce Development spoke to vendors today and said there's a $1,000 stipend that some of them could qualify for, but they would have to register for a special course on how to run their business. In the newsroom, Luz Peña, ABC7 News.
Well, that's bullshit.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Berryessa flea market situation down here in San Jose, and a lot of other situations where folks are just trying to do what they can, right, and make it and get by, and we're gonna crack down on them and force them out of an income. Because why? Because a couple people are selling illegal shit on the street in a big city. Oh my God. And someone call a cop. And I guess they did. They called lots of cops.
So all that's going to happen is the people illegally vending are just going to go to Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. Or find another place to go than the Mission, right? A lot of these people who are vending in the Mission don't have anywhere else to go, or they're living on the street. They're living feet probably from where they sell their wares. So yeah, this is a complete bullshit. And it's bullshit. Good on Hillary Ronan for going out and taking the slings and arrows, but that's kind of the job. And also, where the fuck were you when the ban was being implemented? Why are these people, why were they not involved? Were they involved in the conversation? Did you reach out to them? Why are there no plans to help them? Just like the previous story, why were there no plans to help those small businesses that were going to get fenced in, basically, literally, by APEC? No one thought about that in advance. It's just shocking.
And it's just like, it's like if they didn't know that they're like, all of a sudden now people are fencing stolen goods, masquerading as legitimate street vendors. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. My goodness. Well, they certainly sent enough cops, I think, and motorcycles to deal with the situation, to deal with the vendors who were basically rallying for their rights. And I always love the look of cops when they know they're getting filmed by media, like from across the street. They're just sort of like, it's this combination of like trying to look tough, but not too tough, and look like they're, not paying attention to you, or they don't care that you're filming them, but it's completely obvious that they are very offended by the fact that they're being filmed. So always fun to watch
right.
them squirm.
Their self-consciousness is written all over their face, but they're trying not to look at you.
And their body language too. Just it's that false sense of security. They're kind of like stiff, but too stiff, right?
Like a rooster.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we can stay in San Francisco for winners and losers, because there's just a lot of losers in San Francisco this week, as usual. But apparently, there's a restaurant that is having a rent dispute with its landlord, and somehow they're connected to the police union, and now there's some retaliation happening against the restaurant. So,
sounds
allegedly. We'll find out more.
There's a new twist in San Francisco linked to a scandal more than 2 decades ago. The Police Officers Association is suing a tenant in a building that it owns, a restaurant, for COVID-related back rent. Our investigative unit, though, has learned one of the restaurant's owners was a key player in the infamous Fajita-gate scandal. Remember that? Adam Snyder's one of 2 men who were allegedly assaulted by 3 off-duty San Francisco cops who wanted their takeout fajitas back in 2002. What? Snyder called 911 to report his friend was being severely beaten, and then testified against the officers later in criminal and civil court cases.
But all I did was tell the truth. And, I feel like because I did that, they've held it against me since then.
We fast forward to the present day. Snyder now says his restaurant, the Brixton, is the victim of retaliation from the Fajita Gate case. He claims the POA was negotiating with him over the unpaid rent that accrued during the pandemic. But once the police officers union those officials realized who he was, the POA stopped talking and filed a lawsuit for $375,000 in back rent.
They're forcing us out of business, and our family, we call them family, our staff is going to be the ones to pay the price.
Snyder's retaliation claim was included in court papers filed today. The Police Officers Association did not respond to our request for comments.
So there's a couple things. Somebody in the chat just asked, if the police union can be your landlord? No, it's a good fucking question. I don't think the police union should be allowed to be your landlord.
Well, apparently they are allowed, and they are an independent entity. They are allowed to own property. I'm sure some police unions probably own property that they house their cops in, because especially in California, it's fucking expensive as shit to live here, even with a police officer salary. So yeah, it's legit, it's legal, and it's also a way that they can make money too, right? It's like an investment, because they're just like any other group. They're a registered business, right? So they can do that. I absolutely 100% believe that this is retaliation, and that I can 100% believe that guy's story, that they didn't know who he was, and then they found out who he was, and they that's just how cops operate, and how police unions especially operate. They have these long labyrinthine memories, and they if you're not with them, you're against them, right? And as soon as they found out that this guy was that guy, absolutely,
right? But like
they would pull something like this.
This was 20 years ago, and also, like, I don't know, don't whoop that ass over some fajitas.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, yeah, agree, totally agree, and I think that the owner of the Brixton would agree with you too. But yeah, it does not surprise me at all that this is how they chose to operate. So 20 years, 30 years, whatever. it's a chance to get the guy that got them. So they're going to take it, right? These damn communist bastards coming after us.
The only thing, don't trust anybody if they're your employer and they refer to their business as a family, because that ain't your family. It's your employer, okay?
Unless it literally is your family, like it's a mom and pop.
Well, if it's a family business, he wouldn't have to caveat that his employees are like his family.
Oh yeah, very, very true. But I'm saying just don't call them family unless they literally are your family.
I mean, I've had some pretty good fucking fajitas that I'd fight a motherfucker over, but I wouldn't go after the people that made them. Like, if there was just one last fajita plate, I would fight you for it, Councilman. Don't get it twisted.
I'm a burrito guy. It's okay. You can have my fajita.
All right.
I want to have peace in the world, so you can have my fajita.
We're going to go across the bay from San Francisco to Oakland. What's going on with the ex-police chief of Oakland?
Well, wrongfully fired, perhaps, or wrongfully let go. Been trying to get reinstated. Not so lucky in that regard. Needs something to do, and now is volunteering at on a high school basketball team as the assistant coach. So very interesting story. Caught week before Thanksgiving, and thought we would run here just to learn a little more about the fall from grace in public service and how quickly it does happen.
New at 6, former Oakland Police Chief LaRon Armstrong is taking on a new role. Instead of leading the police department, he's helping now create unity on the basketball court. Armstrong is now the newest coach at Oakland's Bishop O'Dowd High School. Here's NBC's Valina Jones.
From chief to coach. Former Oakland Police Chief LaRon Armstrong is now Coach Armstrong for the boys' varsity basketball team at Bishop O'Dowd High School.
They had no idea who he was.
I mean, I've seen him take a couple of threes, but he got a nice form.
Senior players say it's not only advice from the three-point line they're picking up.
It's like a father-son relationship in terms of just him being a mentor to me for mental stuff, physical stuff on the court, and then just IQ stuff like basketball. basketball players. He's definitely made an impact, kind of just another guy we can talk to.
Armstrong is not new to the court. Before ever putting on a badge, he played both high school and college ball. But it's the lessons off the court he hopes will make the biggest impact.
Get to see people who really don't know who you are and all of the things that you've been involved in, and they just see you as somebody that they appreciate being here every day, that your commitment to helping them matters to them.
Lou Ritchie, Bishop's head coach and a friend and neighbor of Armstrong, is the reason Oakland's former top cop is now helping the team run plays. Ritchie says he believes it won't just help the players, but also give Armstrong a new path after the mayor effectively fired him earlier this year.
And he still has a huge impact on our community. So seeing him smile, seeing him talk about basketball, we don't talk about anything that has to do with, Oakland police while he's here. So it's great for him to get away from that part of his life that was in the past and be able to be here for the kids.
While Armstrong's application to get his old job back is still pending, he says his commitment to Oakland won't change, whether he's holding a badge or basketball.
I'm trying to pay it forward. I've been really fortunate, and despite whatever has happened, I'm really blessed to have risen to the position that I have. And so if I can encourage young people to not forget to come back and volunteer and give back, I think that would be the most meaningful thing.
In Oakland, Valina Jones, NBC Bay Area News.
So if I'm remembering correctly, this guy got kind of fucked over. There was a moral panic around crime in cities, and he was the sacrificial lamb, even though he was doing his job. I mean, I don't like his job, right?
Yes.
But this guy got fucked over by this very same people actually who are reporting on him being a basketball coach right now.
Right. No, you are remembering correctly, and Sheng Tao, the new mayor, has had to deal with questions of legitimacy and strength as a mayor. So this was a bold decision that she didn't necessarily lead, but certainly played a role in as a means of, I think, boosting her public safety credentials, right? Similar to what you're seeing from Mayor Breed in San Francisco and other sort of semi-bootlicking mayors. So yeah, he was the victim of that kind of politics. Actually good on him. Honestly, this could probably end up in another thing any other week. And because, hey, I can't fault him for wanting to inspire youth. And he had a nice little dig there, at Oakland, at least, when he mentioned, that they listen to him and they respect him for what he's offering, right, and the work he's putting in, and it's great to see that. It's great to be appreciated for the work that you're doing every day and putting in every day. Just a little dig at his former employers, probably. So hey, good on him. And I do. Interesting to see what happens as his application matriculates its way through the system. But I don't know if there's like a hearing or something we can possibly watch in public comment when he comes back for consideration again. But that's probably more symbolic than anything else. I don't expect that he would get his job back, but could be interesting watching.
No, and I don't know. This is a better. I don't know. Fucking, I'd rather have anybody coaching basketball than fucking running the police department. I mean, somebody got to run the police department, but I don't know. I don't know if he got ousted during a time of during the moral panic about high crime rates. He might have been fucking telling everybody to chill the fuck out. You know what I'm saying?
Chill the beans.
And it could have been. I have no way to know this, right? But I could see a scenario in which they're like, well, the media is on us for a rising crime, and he's like, I have the numbers here, and the crime hasn't really gone up too terribly much, and I think we need to calm down and focus on what's important, or some version of that may have happened. I'm doing fanfic about this guy now because he's a basketball coach and I like him again. Right. So
well, and he was sort of like this before when he was the chief. He was the guy that was getting out and shaking hands and talking to people in the community and wanting to put a face to the department, right, and build more trust. So I don't know. Maybe it's that. Maybe something else. Maybe there's just an element in the community that doesn't like Black police chiefs. That's entirely possible. So I know the police commission in Oakland I think they had something to do with it, but I forget what the reasoning was given at the time for why he was let go, other than I think it was disobedience or something, or I don't know, didn't obey direct orders. but he's the chief, so I don't know how that works out.
Well,
anyway.
I think, and again, I'm just sort of speculating here, but I think one of the jobs of the police chief is maybe to buck when the city asks for ridiculous things or goes down a non-productive path because they're, fear of, in this case, a moral panic. It just reminds me of during the satanic panic in the 80s, the FBI of all people were running around telling all these cop shops to stop trying to chase down all the goth kids because they probably weren't serial killers. And again, I have no information about this, but you think it would actually be, if they were doing a good job, it would be within their job description to buck when they were told to do something stupid. So
one would hope, and there would be an ability to do so without having to face retaliation or termination for that matter. You would expect that, but at the end of the day, power wins, and you can fight all you want, but if the electeds, if the political cognoscenti are not in your corner, you're not going to last long in public service. That's why a lot of public servants just sort of put their heads down, do their job 9 to 5, go home, and don't think about it. But just do their job while they're there, because they don't want to. They don't want to excel, because then you excel and you get promoted to a director position, and suddenly you're on display and you're having to report to the council, and you're having to justify your existence on a regular basis, and you're the point person, and you're also going to be the sacrificial lamb when things go south, right? And you don't want to slack off too much, because then you get laid off, right? The next time there's layoffs, and you lose out on your pension. So most public servants just try to find a nice happy medium in there and just do their job and go home and don't bring it home, right?
Right.
They care. It's not that they don't care. It's just that they know the job, and they understand the politics that are at play, and they're trying to survive in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so now we're going to move on to a police department that I'm fairly familiar with, and that I saw doing generally nothing, actually. Like, honestly.
Well, good. Now they didn't get a ton of grant money from the state for doing something, so now they can do less, I guess.
Well, I've never lived in a safer place than Campbell, and my favorite thing about it was these two cops that would patrol Campbell Avenue without a gun or a fucking billy club or anything, just fucking walking around, seeing what the fuck was going on. And it was they weren't, it would have been a little bit cooler if they would have had a drink with me, but they were on the job. But it looks like they're not getting some grant money for retail theft. I was unaware that retail theft was also a problem in Campbell, where I used to live. But that's probably because I don't live there anymore.
Maybe at the prune yard.
Maybe at the prune yard. Maybe. Yeah.
We'll find out. The story will have more information, I'm sure.
Well, here it is from KPIX.
Organized retail theft is becoming more brazen and more prevalent in many places across the country and here in the Bay Area. Our Kelsey Thord talks with a South Bay store owner who's made some major adjustments in response to this unfortunate trend.
San Jose camera and video here in Campbell has been robbed several times. Police say organized retail theft here in the city has become a big issue. But when they applied for grant money from the state, they only received a fraction of what they asked for. Chris Sismondi's family has owned San Jose camera and video for generations. The store will actually be celebrating its 100th year in business in 2027. But Chris says these past few years have been tough, bringing challenges the store's never seen before.
It's brazen, armed robberies and people just running in with masks and guns, putting people on the ground and then grabbing merchandise and running out.
Earlier this year, 5 suspects robbed the store at gunpoint, stealing $60,000 worth of merchandise and shooting one of the employees. Chris was there when it happened.
It's an interesting feeling. I don't know really else how to explain that, just interesting. So yeah, it's scary, but interesting as well.
All 5 suspects were eventually arrested up in Alameda County, but Campbell police say this incident was just one of several organized retail thefts in the city this year. That's why the department applied for a state grant, asking for over $6 million to expand things like its drone and license plate reader programs. But when the grantees were announced, Campbell's police department was awarded the least amount of money among all of the recipients, just a little over $400,000, a fraction of what they were hoping for. Chris told me he was sorry to hear that. He thinks more funding could have helped.
So more funding was always beneficial to businesses and even the people that live here too.
For now, Chris and his family are relying on themselves to up security, adding more safety features to their building in the hopes that will deter criminals.
We added silent alarms, things of that nature to kind of help.
Don't ever
with, when people come in, hopefully it, notifies the police quicker and they get here quicker.
And Chris told me it still feels surreal to have to think about safety features like that, but sadly he told me he believes organized retail theft like this is going to be around for a while into the future.
I don't like him. I mean, I don't think he should get robbed, but I don't like him. First of all, he said it was interesting when one of his employees got shot. I'm like, whoa, dude. I mean, maybe he was nervous about being on camera, but he didn't seem nervous about being on camera.
No, he's the one pushing this story. I mean, they're the only business that they talk to. And so, yeah, he's the one obviously pushing the story. Interesting. That's certainly an interesting word to use for a situation where you witnessed one of your employees getting shot and your business robbed. I've actually shopped there before at San Jose Camera and Video in the distant past when I was a film nut. So good place, good spot to get some camera action going on. Those cameras that actually shoot film, kids, like film. We'll tell you about that some other time on Downballot. But anyway, and also giving up the ghost on his new security system. Like, hey guys, we've got a silent alarm.
Yeah, dude, don't ever tell anybody about that.
Shh, you can't hear it, but I'm going to tell you about it on TV. My goodness gracious.
Now it's not a silent alarm, is it? Because it got broadcast on the news. I mean, there's things that you can't hide, like cameras, like the cameras you had outside and whatever, but there are things that you can hide and you shouldn't talk about.
Well, I mean, it's the best kind of place, actually. Like, he sells cameras. Like, any of the cameras inside could be rigged, right, to be a camera. You'd think it'd be the safest place on earth. He could have all the cameras set up, but it's still not a deterrent, necessarily. If people are going to be brazen and come in the middle of the day with a gun and shoot your employee, I don't think they give a fuck about the security cameras outside or inside. But right. I didn't... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you just walk in and why are all the cameras pointed, like, at the door?
But I did... think this was very much a no context story, right? So they talked to the one business, and then they referenced that Campbell got the least amount of money of any city that applied, right? Well, Campbell's a small city, right? So it could, who knows? It could have been that they didn't have enough money to give everyone what they asked for, right? And they had to do some sort of sliding scale, right? And Campbell just happened to be a smaller city.
Less than 40,000 people live in Campbell.
There you go. So they got more. They got like $10 for every one of those 40,000 people. That's not bad. But they probably had a sliding scale. Who knows? That maybe that's the case. Maybe not. Right.
Or maybe it's just that they also may have assessed the crime threat and like I'm just telling you, man. I have never lived anywhere in my life that I felt safer than when I lived in Campbell. I felt not only safe like from violent crime, but safe from the cops. Honestly, I did not feel like the cops were there to harass me. There are probably factors in that may be different for other people. People who look different than me, maybe carry themselves different than me. People who weren't, for most of the time I lived there, I was making pretty good fucking money. So I was hanging out at like the bistros and, kind of nicer places on Campbell Avenue. And, if I was going to smoke a joint, I'd be smoking a joint in front of a restaurant where my dinner just cost $80. So maybe the police aren't going to fuck with me. Right. So like,
no, they're probably there eating on their break too. For sure. But no. And I don't know what the context or the guidelines or the rubric was for this grant. Right. I don't know what kind of numbers and stats they had to produce as a city about their crime rates and statistics like that. But yeah, you're right. If they look at that, then they're the need, if we're doing like an equity thing, the need is not really there. Right.
And just the socioeconomics of Campbell, it's small, dense, and pretty well off, well to do. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to support restaurants where your dinner is $80, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't think Atherton's getting that kind of money either. So anyway, but $6 million is a lot. I don't know what their police budget is, but that's a big chunk of change for a city like Campbell. So
yeah, they're going for it. there, like just like there was a former Campbell cop who hung out at my friend's restaurant, and he said, Sunday afternoon there'd be 4 cops patrolling all of Campbell. Now, mind you, Campbell's tiny, ain't shit going on there except day drinking. So like they don't have a whole lot of fucking shit to deal with. But yeah, like what do they need $6 million for? Drones? They can do one drone and cover the whole city.
More dogs, more canine units, and tanks. Lots of tanks.
Oh, they got rid of their tank, I think.
A tank.
After pressure from the city, they got rid of their tank.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there was all that backlash, tanklash.
Yeah, that was good though. That was the people went to the city council and was like, "You have what?" Like just regular people. The NIMBYs got it right for once. In the case of the tank, they're like, "No tank in my backyard."
We just, I'm offended that I only just heard about this meeting that I'm speaking at. Nobody told me about it.
They're like, my 4-bedroom house is worth $2.6 million. Why do you need a tank?
I moved into this community 40 years ago, and we pay high property taxes to live in this community, and I don't want you spending my property taxes on a tank.
But that's actually the only good NIMBYism, right?
Yes. Well, they can be leveraged for very specific purposes. We should respect our NIMBY friends when we need them and shit on them when we don't.
That's correct. So what's going on with drugs at high school?
Dude, kids are doing them.
Well, let's find out more.
That's it.
Tonight, 2 parents at one Oakland middle school are furious. They say a classmate gave their children and others psychedelic mushrooms during class, and at least one of the students got sick. Now the parents are pointing fingers at the school staff and the district over how they're handling the whole thing. Our Betty Hughes spoke with both parents tonight and tells us what the district had to say.
Middle school,
A handful of students at Westlake Middle School ate candy from a classmate last Monday that parents say turned out to be chocolate shrooms. The Oakland Unified School District said most of the students who ate the candy only had a small portion, but one student ate enough of it to get sick.
In my case, my daughter was drugged because she cooked something without the knowledge of what was in it. I feel like if a child is exposed to drugs, whether knowingly or unknowingly, they should call a parent immediately.
Brittany said thankfully her daughter didn't fall ill, but she's disappointed she didn't hear from the principal until about 2 hours after staff members were notified.
I was upset for one. I was concerned, highly concerned, because she does have allergies. She could have lost her mind and never came back from it. So I had a lot of thoughts and there was really no empathy.
Even if you don't know what's going on, I should be immediately notified that my underage daughter is at school high off something that she didn't know she was taking.
Veronica, who didn't want to show her face on camera for privacy reasons, is also frustrated. She said after staff members asked if the students felt okay, they were allowed to go about their day.
You let my child unsupervised. So
well, they were at school.
I feel like they should have kept them all in a room with adult supervision. These are kids.
No, wait a minute. You want the kid to freak out?
Yeah, seriously.
They're in mushrooms. Just leave them in a fucking room, a room with white painted walls and fucking like nothing to do and lights that are just buzzing a little bit in the ceiling. God damn.
And the vice principal in the corner, like, would you like a cup of water? How do you feel? Can I get you anything? Would you like a snack?
Yeah,
pretzels.
It sounds to me like all things considered, the school was like, okay, you don't feel ill, you feel different than you normally do. They probably didn't just say, oh, get out of here, go about your day. They said, if you feel like you can go about your day, go about your day. And if you need help, come back to the office. I can't imagine them saying anything like, they weren't like, oh, you're high. That's great. Go to math. You know,
I would take advantage of the opportunity to be like, kid, you tripping. Right. Anyway, sorry. Let's play the rest.
What it is to be high off this, and even if not, they're under your responsibility.
She said she took Brittany's child and her daughter to the hospital to get checked out as a precaution, but we're told hallucinogens do not show up on common drug tests, and too much time had also passed for shrooms to show up on a specific test. In a statement to KPIX, the district said once we were alerted to the issue involving that sick individual and all the others, we immediately started investigating and called the families of all involved. Several young people went home and the rest stayed on campus and continued their day as normal. As far as the student who brought the candy, the school said it's addressed the person appropriately and asked families to pay close attention to what their kids are consuming. Veronica said the child was suspended for a few days, but she wants that student expelled since she has a prior record of similar actions.
So I just explained to my daughter, regardless of who it is, everyone's not your friend, because in this case, that is a friend.
We reached out to the district again late this afternoon for a response to the women's specific concerns. We have not yet heard back.
I don't know, how do you, sending the kids home is fine, except what are the kids going to, they're just going to sit in the parents, the kids high on shrooms, and the parents are going to have a million questions for them. And then they're going to maybe somebody there had done mushrooms before and was listen, everybody, listen, hold on. I got a couple things to explain to you. Having them sit in the nurse's office for the rest of the day, bad idea.
Very bad.
They're for sure going to freak out. Sending them home, maybe the parents don't understand this and the parents are going to be asking them all these questions. Bad idea. These kids are going to freak out.
Right.
And the other thing is, maybe some of the one parent said that it was a very small amount. Maybe some of the kids didn't really feel anything.
Could be, right? And frankly, I recall when I first started doing hallucinations before I lost my mind completely and never came back. Yeah, still trying to get back. I do recall not really feeling a whole lot maybe the first couple times even, and wondering is it that standard stereotypical, is it happening? Am I doing something? Am I high? Am I tripping? And nothing really feeling all that great. And then maybe the third or fourth time, with a little help from our good friend Cannabis, suddenly, woo, hey grandma, how you doing? You've been dead for 18 years. So yeah, I could totally see them, just a few of the kids just not really feeling much of anything. I do appreciate what was it the gal said earlier, you're putting this thing in your body, so my kid got sick. Well, it's yeah, that's the point of it, is to get sick when you eat shrooms. It's a poison. You're putting poison in your stomach. So yeah, you get sick, but you that's what causes you to see all the shiz. They're doing it right. Don't worry. The kids are okay. Let them free. Let them wander. Let them do their thing. Don't lock them in the principal's office.
Nothing. Okay, I guess contacting all the parents immediately was probably a good idea.
Sure. Well, you have to.
And we only heard from, I think we heard from two parents, and it sounded like it was a handful of kids, right? I don't know how many kids a handful is, but it sounded like it was a handful of kids. Maybe some of the parents were like a little more level-headed, and they're like, oh, he or she said they feel fine. Well, they can go about the rest of their, I'll talk to them when they get home and see what's going on. And if there's a problem, if this becomes a bigger problem, please let me know.
I would hope that they're like that. And then there's also the possibility that they just don't want to be on camera or be known to be having a kid that did shrooms or something, or was involved in this at all, right? They don't want to be on the news. So there's that potential too. But
yeah, we know Billy tried shrooms. Okay, stop bothering us about this.
Don't bother us. They just don't want to be a story, right? So I could see that too. But it's good. Hey, the district. I've worked in that position before with things even more tenuous than this, right? And not as innocuous as this could be. But you're always dealing with that time frame of parents want to know yesterday what happened today. That's just and I can kind of get that now as a parent, but I'm hoping to God that I don't turn into that as the bad baby gets older. But I can see where that comes from, because you want to protect them, right? You want to make sure they're absolutely 100% protected when they're not around you. But there's no way you can protect them 24/7 once you start sending them to school, right? Things are going to happen. And when they get older, things are going to happen, and the school's not going to have any control over it, and it's not going to have any ability to do anything to help you. You're going to have a good enough relationship with your kid that that they'll come to you, and you're going to know what's going on in their lives. And that's it. Right?
To be a fly on the wall in the teacher's lounge that day,
right? Let me tell you what happened. Yeah, so it's very difficult to to please parents in this situation, you could get the message out 5 minutes after it happened. You could be on the phone with the parents and say like, "Hey, your kid took mushrooms." Right.
But you're not going to even figure out what the fuck's going on in 5 minutes.
Correct.
It probably took a non-insignificant portion of the school day to even figure out what was going on.
Correct. And what you don't want to do is frighten anyone, especially if it's not a life or death situation, right? It's not an emergency situation. They're sick. Right, they have they took a poison. They got food poisoning basically, which is what shrooms are, in case anyone didn't know. And so they're just going to weather it out and see where things go. But they probably had no idea what it was until 2 hours later, and then that's when parents got contacted. But you don't want to raise red alert, right? Especially today with Nextdoor and everything else out there, and the parent lists and the parent groups online, and the chat groups and the Signal groups. You don't want to raise crazy hell over something, and you don't know what you're right. Like, you don't know what it is. You have no idea what's going on. So you want to figure out what's going on before you put any message out there, because that message is going to get disseminated and shared around like wildfire. So
yeah, imagine like if you go to the parents with incomplete information, then you got to go to them later and go, oopsie. Well, now you look like you don't. Now you look incompetent, right? Like,
yeah, and they're on Nextdoor saying that. They're on Nextdoor saying they're lying to us. These people don't know what they're doing. No confidence. We should recall them, right? That's how you get to those things. So
right. It sounds to me like, all things considered, because the school had to make a decision pretty quickly, it sounds like they did handle this about as well as they could have. One lady was like, they were unsupervised. It's like, no, lady, they were in class.
Right. The kids were fine. They were, no one's hurt. A couple kids got sick. Should this have happened? No. You gotta have a conversation with the kid who brought the stuff and gave it out, but don't expel them. The dumbest thing to do, right? Like, if a middle school kid's bringing chocolate mushrooms and handing them out in class, that's a signal of something else going on in their lives that has nothing to do with their ability to learn, right? Or their right to have a free public education. So don't kick them out. Have a conversation with them, and if any parents are squishy about that kid being in their class, they can ask for a transfer.
And not for nothing, there may be more going on here. I mean, those kids may have bought those fucking chocolates, right? And none of them wanted to say that they bought those fucking chocolates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, exactly.
Drugs aren't free, friendo.
It's good stuff, man. Those chocolate ones, if you can get it. Anyway, someone was, and one of the kids was baking with it. Apparently, that's what they were cooking with it. The lady said, "I don't know why you would cook with chocolate mushrooms. I could see if you just get a bag of mushrooms. I don't know what they are, but like chocolate."
Oh, they probably just baked them, or not make like it was probably in fudge, and it just was settled into the fudge because shrooms are nasty.
Right. No, they're horribly nasty. Like, tea is always what I did. I would just boil them and make a tea out of it. That was always the easiest thing to do. Drench it with honey. Oh, memories, Dave. Memories.
Yeah, it never occurred to me to do any hallucinogens at school, though, because then you're stuck at school.
Yeah, that's bad news. I wrote a script once where that happened, because I'd read about it happening, and just, I can't imagine how horrific that would have been. But then again, I went to an all-boys Catholic high school, so.
Ooh, yikes. Well, that explains.
Middle school would have been more fun.
People are learning more and more about you by the week, Mr. Councilman.
I'm just dropping knowledge all over the place. Eventually we're going to come out and, we'll go public and bring all the friends to this show, because there's a lot of folks that would love to watch this show, but I'm just afraid that they're not going to like what I have to say about them.
Well, that's a good thing. This show is only the 10th most popular California news show.
I thought we were 9th.
I forget. I keep forgetting. Every time I actually just don't read that person's email anymore, because what they want is my money.
And I don't know if it was popular so much as it was like the best. And I guess he was the one saying doing the rankings. So
yeah,
that dude.
I wonder if like each link that he sends actually just puts everybody at number 9 or 10 or whatever. It's like dynamic depending on where you click the link from.
Yeah, congratulations, you are 9th on my list. Anyway, shall we get our shit together?
Well, somebody should.
Well, guess what? There's a high rise in San Francisco that needs to get its shit together, Producer Dave. I'll give you one guess as to which one it is.
I have the docket in front of me, so it's cheating. So it's not that one.
Oh, damn it. Yes, it's not Millennium Tower for once. There was actually another high rise that's gotten into the news for having some issues that residents are not so happy with, and they actually had to get moved out for. So we're going to find out more from this story from NBC Bay Area.
Bad news as we head into Thanksgiving for dozens of people who live in a San Francisco high-rise. They were displaced nearly 18 months ago after a bizarre flood inside that building.
Yeah, and many had been waiting for a date to move back in. Well, they're now hearing that won't happen until next year at the earliest. Here's NBC's Christy Smith.
My initial reaction is definitely, I'll believe it when I see it.
Austin Caldwell says it feels like the goalpost keeps moving when it comes to 33 Tehama in San Francisco, a luxury high-rise that he used to call home.
I was a resident of 33 Tehama from July 2020 to June 3rd, 2022, when the building flooded.
That flooding in June of 2022 displaced residents of the South of Market building, including Caldwell. He says even though the lease was coming to an end and he was planning on moving on, the flooding still had a major impact.
I had stability in my life, and, the uncertainty and, honestly, the mayhem that, that flooding caused in 2022, it caused really a big part of it, the downfall of my relationship, and it changed my life.
Caldwell says the decision to move on was reaffirmed after learning that residents who do want to return will now have to wait even longer. This week, they received a letter announcing they're going to have to wait even longer to get back in the building.
33 Tehama let its residents know that there's going to be another delay to their return to the building, most likely in the first quarter of 2024.
Sam Singer is a spokesperson for Hines, the developer. He says the delay is a combination of factors.
Getting the parts, getting the labor, and then it's not the city's fault, but it takes a while to get this done properly, and it also takes a time to get it done and permitted properly, and that's what's taken a lot longer than assuredly the residents would like to have seen.
He says their hearts go out to residents and says the owners have done everything they could to assist displaced residents. He says they're doing their best to get tenants back in as quickly as they can.
To us, this is just another kind of pushing out.
Nazi Fahimi is an attorney representing about 90 tenants in a lawsuit against the property owners. Fahimi says the closure has dragged on so long that some tenants have moved away. Others are worried something else might go wrong at the building, even as others count the days till they can return.
Imagine being put out of your home. Bad enough, right? But then the notion of when is it going to be a fix? When am I going to be able to come back? When am I going to have some peace?
In San Francisco, Christy Smith, NBC Bay Area News.
The moral of the story is if you rent in San Francisco, just rent a shithole apartment, because you never hear stories about what goes on at the non-luxury apartments in San Francisco.
Yeah, get into one of those fourplexes in the Sunset, right? And just get a rent-controlled place and enjoy it. Why bother with these big-ass high-rises that just seem to tilt and collapse and flood, and the next one's going to catch on fire? Who knows? Icicles, it'll freeze.
Yeah, or just pay-by-the-week motel.
There you go. Just get an Airbnb. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't know. It was fun that was not about the Millennium Tower, but I mean, these people are kind of well-to-do. These are luxury apartments, and but I mean, it still sucks. It's still fun.
I mean, I'm not crying for the tenants so much as just laughing at the whole situation, right? And how the best laid plans often go awry. I did like that. I felt bad for the dude, who's apparently his relationship was destroyed by this incident. But I did like the reporter kind of breaking in with her little awe there. Christy Smith couldn't help herself. Oh,
well, I don't know if the person's only dating you because you live in a luxury apartment. Maybe there's some other shit going on that you got to work on, friend.
Something happening there, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to move on to Down Ballot Watch. There's not a lot going on in local politics that's especially local politicsy because the holidays, people be phoning it in, and
true.
Looks like we have a House of Representatives representative. That would be Elena Eshoo. She's not going to seek re-election in 2024. Let's check out NBC Bay Area's coverage of it, and then I have some questions for you about what you think might happen next, actually.
Sure.
New at 11, a familiar name in the Bay Area in politics is retiring. U.S. Representative Eshoo just announced that she will not seek re-election in 2024. NBC Bay Area's Bob Riddell joins us live. And Bob, Anna Eshoo accomplished a couple of firsts, really, in her career as Congresswoman.
Correct. Good morning to you, Laura. You know, she was the first woman to represent California District 16, which covers much of the peninsula behind me and parts of the South Bay. And she was also the first Democrat to do so. Eshoo served 10 years on the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors before being elected to Congress, where she served 32 years in the House of Representatives. In a video posted online announcing her retirement, the Congresswoman touted the fact that 5 different presidents signed 66 of her bills into law, including legislation surrounding healthcare, technology, and environmental policy.
Over all the years, my legislation and my votes have reflected the values of my constituents: strengthen our democracy, protect our national security, perfect our union by making it fairer for all, and build an economy that lifts up everyone.
The Congresswoman points out that she was able to accomplish what she did in the House in spite of the fact that 2/3 of her tenure was spent being in the minority. She will serve out her full term and then retire. That will be in January of 2025. Reporting live, Bob Riddell, NBC Bay Area News.
Not bad. Retiring right at the top of the game, sharp as a tack. Nobody was ever like, oh, get rid of her. She doesn't know what's going on.
True. It was getting to that point. The whispers were out there. She had faced some challengers, some really nominal challengers, not serious at all, in recent years, and it still won handily and won re-election handily, and still sharp as a tack. I would say I know Congresswoman Eshoo, and I would say she's still very much on top of her game and knew what she was doing and was doing a fabulous job. But she was hearing the same shit that you hear about other, unfortunately, more women than men in politics. So getting up there and. Need to step aside, right? No one's necessarily saying that to Joe Biden, even though they're saying it about him, right? But you heard that a lot. So I think this is a good time for Congresswoman Eshoo to step down. We'll see what happens for her next. But what's happened here, even though this is just one story, this story, which landed last Monday, so a little more than a week ago now, triggered Thanksgiving weekend of basically what is musical chairs and political musical chairs. Always one of the good wives and mine favorite games, because once you open up a congressional seat in an area like this, granted, Eshoo was the first Democrat to represent the seat, but that's a safe Democratic seat. It's Palo Alto.
It's been a long time.
It's the Southern Peninsula. It's Silicon Valley. It's very heavily Democratic. Maybe not, maybe more moderate Democrats, right, and tech Democrats, but still very Democratic. A lot of those. Good white Democrats who believe in social justice and all those things that they don't want to see in their community, but they hear about.
They'd like to see it on a national level, maybe in someone else's neighborhood.
Correct. They love legalized weed, but not in their city, right? Anyway, but so it's a safe seat. So you open that up, and suddenly everyone and their brother wants it because it's like a lifetime appointment if you can get it, right? So sometimes you jump the gun like Ro Khanna, and you don't wait for Mike Khanna to retire, and you just go and try to beat him, and you do beat him. And suddenly you flip the script. Well, there's an open seat now, and on top of that, we're less than a week to the filing deadline for the March primary. So if folks wanted to make a call on whether or not to run for this seat, they got to go now, right?
I wonder if she did that for fun.
Well,
I'd do it the day before. Fuck it.
It could be that, so she has, there's something to this, so there's at least 3 or 4 major dudes, unfortunately, no women as of yet, lining up to run for the seat, including Sam Liccardo, former mayor of San Jose, who doesn't necessarily live in the district, but you don't have to live in the district to run in the district. That's a whole caveat of the
and
house.
It's not like he's hurting for moving funds. If you wanted to be like, I actually purchased a house in the district and plan to be moving in there because I want to live in the district that I represent.
Sure. He grew up in Saratoga too, which I believe is part of the district, so he can also reference that. Evan Lowe, who's a state assemblyman, is widely expected to jump into the race. That would open up his seat because he is up for re-election next year, and he can't run concurrently for both seats. So that's going to spark an election for his seat. There's already, I think, 3 candidates lining up for his seat.
I can't see him. He's generally pretty ambitious, but I can't see. I just like don't see that. I don't think that, and I could be wrong. I don't see him doing it. I see him holding out in what he's doing right now, just because it seems like, and I know this seems weird. It seems like he likes his job in the state government. It seems like he's enjoys it, is effective. He's well liked by his colleagues there. It seems like, and it seems like the wrong move.
He's had some challenges recently because he did. There was a battle for the speakership, and he ended up on sort of the wrong side of that. And the current speaker did not appreciate that. And the previous speaker had also removed him of some of his chairmanships and his committee positions, which are where you get all your power. So despite the fact that he's an amazing fundraiser, he and one of the best fundraisers in the state and among Democrats, he created some ripples, and those had impacts on him. So I imagine that he might be interested in moving on, but it's almost confirmed. I can do everything but confirm he is going to run for the seat.
Really?
Correct. And then a state senator, Josh Becker from the Peninsula, is going to jump into the race, and there more than likely will be more folks thinking about it. But again, all of those folks, have seats of their own in some cases that get opened up. For example, in Evan's case, now, if his seat opens up, now there's 3 people running for his seat. So suddenly in March, you've got all these different elections happening that you weren't expecting to be races. So we're going to have a lot more fun, is what I'm saying, on Down Ballot Watch as we cover these races coming up. We thought it might just be some San Jose City Council races, and that's it. There might also be some really interesting shit happening in the mayor's race in San Jose, even though there wasn't much of a race, or there isn't much of a race right now, because Cindy Chavez has formally announced that she is not running. But we'll see what happens, because now at this point, who knows? The filing deadline is next week.
What if Evil Beto decides to run for this as well?
That would be interesting. I don't think he's quite there yet. I don't think he's quite at that point yet. But like I said, it's one of those things where it doesn't come up very often. Like, whoever gets this seat's probably going to be in it for the next 20 to 30 years.
So if Liccardo, I just, as soon as I heard this, I just immediately thought Sam Liccardo was going to be like the sort of a presumptive front runner for this seat.
Well,
I don't. But it sounds to me like you didn't even mention him as running. Is there some other position that's opening up soon that we're looking at Sam Liccardo for, like maybe the governor? Or
no, he's been looking at Congress recently, and he made it clear to Zoe Lofgren that he thought about running against her in the district he does live in. So this is just an opportunity that he sees, and he's going to go for it. And he, according to, there's some early polling that says, he's got the highest name ID, which is not surprising because he was the mayor of a major city locally and regionally. So not surprising there. And people don't really know their state and their county officials. But I didn't get to the 4th candidate in the race that is the real interesting player, and that's Joe Simitian, who's a current supervisor. He's a former state senator, and prior to that, he was a supervisor, and prior to that, he was a city council member. He's basically been an elected official his whole adult life.
The swamp.
He's very, very close with Anna Eshoo. He and his wife are very, very tight with Anna, and he's widely thought to be sort of her handpicked successor, as it were. So it's entirely possible that she waited until pretty much the last minute to line this up for someone who has been prepared and looking at running and raising money to run for this seat for a number of years, and just waiting for Anna to retire, and wouldn't challenge her, right? Because they're friends. So it could be that she just waited until the last minute and set it up for him, because he has the infrastructure to then ramp up a campaign and be ready to go and win a really short race, which is pretty much 2 months. It's 2 months until ballots go out in this race.
And
so,
as and I don't know anything about this other guy, but my guess is that the dynamic, let's say, because I don't know anything about him, the dynamic would be that Evan Lowe would be attacking to the progressive side of Sam Liccardo. More or less.
Sam would definitely fall into the moderate Democrat, business friendly, Silicon Valley friendly, tech pro friendly kind of category. Evan has friends in that both spaces, all spaces. He is successfully danced between the raindrops for a number of years, and has a lot of friends in interesting places and a lot of strange bedfellows in his network, as it were. And then there's a state senator, like I said, Josh Becker, who is a recently elected state senator, but has been building a political base on the peninsula for quite some time, and has a pretty decent base, and represents the northern part of the district. So it's right now, I think it's anyone's game out of those 4. I think any of them could win, but it'll probably go to a runoff with the top 2. So we'll see what happens in March. Well, that's what you're angling for, is top 2.
We'll keep an eye on it. I'm, you know, as the former mayor of Campbell Avenue, I am you know, biased in favor of the former mayor of Campbell. That would be Evan Lowe.
He's a good guy.
But I think Sam Liccardo would be good at the job. And I don't know anything about the other candidates you mentioned. So
I think they'd all, like I'd say about anyone, they're all competent. They're all qualified. I like some better for their. It's more about politics than anything else. So I think Evan is probably, probably the most progressive. Definitely, certainly the youngest, most progressive, most Gaysian of all of them.
Yeah.
There's that angle as well too. He's the diversity pick out of that whole cohort. So I think he's got a great shot. He's, like I said, he's a mammoth fundraiser, and he's going to have to raise a lot of money really quickly, so he can do that. And he's a great organizer and has a lot of friends out there in the community. So he's built a lot of political credibility. So as much as some folks in the state legislature may not dig on him anymore, he's got a lot of friends. So I would not count him out at all. But it could be, if a Republican gets in this race, then you're looking at, all these Democrats splitting the other 75% of the vote, because Republicans are loyal as fuck, and it doesn't matter who it is running.
But then the primary, if a Republican gets in the race and can even come in second, the primary is then the election.
Correct, because whichever Democrat comes out of that is going to win,
right?
More than likely in November. So yeah, this is it's one story, but it's triggered a ton of other stories. So I actually left a couple things off the docket this week. We can get to next week. In terms
this will be one to watch, because next week we'll know who all is announced, because they
hopefully
well, they don't have a choice, right? Isn't the deadline? You said it's in a week.
It's the day after we do down ballot, or 2 days after down ballot. So we'll find. Well, I'm sorry, the Friday after. So we'll find out the week after on down ballot. But we'll have a little more idea of the things will solidify by next week. We'll have a little more idea.
So I think if Sam Liccardo doesn't run, I think Evan Lowe is going to be the one to beat, unless this other guy that you talked about with this long history in that area has enough name recognition and enough people like the stuff he's been doing. Because everybody knows who Evan Lowe is around, like in the West Valley, like everybody knows who he is. So
he has, he hasn't run or been on the ballot in a lot of the area that the district covers. So that's the question. It's just the casual observer, right? The people where it's just name ID is name of the game when it comes to really short elections too. And just it's where Sam has an advantage in as much as that he's a known commodity out there regionally. But the guys who've been like Samidian, who have been on the ballot in this area for many years, like 30 years, he's been on the ballot. Like, people know his name, even if they don't know who he is or what he represents or what he does, they know his name. And that goes so far especially in local politics. Just having someone know your name, whether or not they know it for good or bad reasons, even, you're known. So that's the biggest challenge, is getting over that hump. And so,
this is really down ballot-y. This is good. I'm glad this happened. Not just this, but also just this lady being able to quit. She's retirement age. She's gonna go live her best life. Hopefully she doesn't go do lobbying or whatever. My God.
Right. Hopefully, or doing consulting, or just write a book and relax.
Or fucking read a book. Who cares? She's like my mom's age. It looks like. So just fucking sit around and read a book and enjoy the rest of your life.
Jackie Spear just retired from Congress a couple, last cycle, and now she's running for county supervisor. She's in the same. I don't think she's quite as old as Congresswoman Eshoo, maybe, but she was in Congress for 30 years and. Yeah, she retired, quote unquote, and now she's back running for a supervisorial seat, which is frankly blocking, the next wave, the next crop of leaders of coming up, right? Because there's people dropping out of that race, because why would you run against a former congressperson, right? You're going to get crushed. So there's a lot to be said for that too, for not just walking away gracefully, but walking away and staying away, right? And staying out. So, more to come on that. We'll have a lot more on down ballot next weekend and the week after on that race.
So we're perfect timing. We're going to be out of here right around 9:00, which is absolutely great for the next show. But everybody's second favorite type of story around here, because everybody's favorite story for down ballot is the fucking leaning tower of what is the Embarcadero or what
Millennium.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, but it's is it in the Embarcadero?
The Embarcadero. Yeah, I guess it's I guess that's what it is. Downtown or they're the financial district.
So this one is vehicle versus structure. Let's see who wins. The last one we did, I was like, oh, I don't want to really. The last one was fucking horrifying. So hopefully this one's a little more fun.
Yeah, sorry about that. I try to pre-scan them.
Early this morning, a car crashed into a marijuana dispensary. KTVU's Amanda Quintana is in the Union Landing Shopping Center. So tell us what you know so far. Good morning, Amanda.
Good morning. Yeah, so this is Courthouse Drive that we're on, and this store behind me is a dispensary called Floor. Now, the car just got towed away in the last 10 minutes, but you could see that garage door that's in front of the entrance of this store is broken open. And then on the floor, there's all of these items from the dispensary. So it seems to be an attempted burglary here or a successful burglary. We haven't gotten much information from police, but I want to give you a look at some of the video that we've been shooting here this morning. When we got here around 5 o'clock, you could see that the back of the car was faced toward this store. So it looked like it had backed into this garage door and I guess pushed it open. When we got here, there were no suspects here. There was nobody in that car. So we're still trying to get information from police about whether people were arrested, whether they took those people away. But again, that car was just towed away about 10 minutes ago. There's a lot of stuff all over the floor, all of these items from the dispensary. There is still a small police presence here, but we're trying to get more information about what happened. All police can tell us right now is that they're investigating a car into a building. They say that their police sergeant will be out here to give us more information about what happened. But it seems like this happened a couple hours ago. Right now, they are still starting to clean up, get everything out of here. That car is out of here, but still a mess out here. And of course, you can see there's barricades, there's this garage door. So it seems like the store owner, tried to avoid something like this, but the car was pretty small, so it was able to still get in there and cause some serious damage here. So I'll send it back to you. We're going to continue to learn more as we're here at the scene and try to get more information from police. Live in Union City, Amanda Quintana, KTVU Fox 2 News.
Somebody in chat suggested maybe it was one of the middle schoolers who took the mushrooms.
Stole the car, backed it into the dispensary. It looks like they broke in, right? And I can't imagine all that stuff was right behind that door. So someone crawled through that crack and then probably tried to bring a whole, I can totally see it like a cartoon, bringing a whole gang of shit, bunch of flour and vape canisters and everything in their arms, coming out the door and dropping them on the way out and just sort of holding whatever they could and running away. I don't know what happened there, but I think it looks like, I don't know, vehicle one in that case, it seems like, because they got in and they got some shit out, right?
Yeah. I wonder if the reporter was allowed to just grab a couple jars for herself.
I think she did before she went on the air, frankly. She was having a hard time at the end of that hit there, trying to figure out what to do, and she was kind of laughing about all the weed that was still on the ground. I can't imagine. I imagine the police are still collecting evidence, right? That's probably why it's taking so long. But yeah, I think the vehicle. I mean, the vehicle had to get towed away, so maybe the structure did win in the end. But it looks like it accomplished what it was trying to do. So good on the vehicle. So maybe both win.
The name of the place was Floor in a fancy font. I bet the inside of that place is everything is fucking white, right?
Yeah, super fancy, like an Apple. Like you said, like an Apple store for weed,
right? Just hella bright $70 eighths.
Yeah, you have to you pick up the eighth and it's attached with some sort of metal wire, right, to the table.
You have to use an app to open the jar.
You can only smell it. There's a couple of holes in the top. You can smell the weed, but you can't actually get it out. All right, speaking of weed, I got to go hit the bong and call it an evening.
Oh, you want to read the show out?
Yeah, why not? Thank you as always for joining us, folks. We do this show every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific, except when we don't, like last week when it was the Good Wife's birthday. Happy birthday, Good Wife. We love seeing you here. We love you watching. We love you downloading and sharing. Please do so aggressively, because we want to be more than the 9th best podcast about news and politics and stuff in California. We're coming for you, California Report. As always, please get your vaccines, especially right now. Wear a mask where it's appropriate. Pants are not necessary unless you really want to. We're going to play some Audible Smoke and transition into public comment, so please stick around, turn your reds light, and have a great week. Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage, waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand, ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later, we're all singing Queen. I get the fuck up on stage, man, rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside?
I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily.
We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band.
Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope we like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yeah,
we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want to do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want to do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back